Sankirtan means we will get together with devotees and we will loudly perform audible glorification of Bhagwan. Now, devotees will come and clarify the concepts in our hearts. I hope you are able to understand. When devotees will clarify the concepts in our heart, our misgivings will be washed away in association of devotees. We will see some sadhu is coming, very learned, aged sadhu comes sometimes, some sannyasi comes. He chants in his association. He gives instructions on Harinam. He gives a lecture on Harinam. Some sannyasi comes, elderly devotee comes, they speak on Harinam. Our misgivings are driven away. I hope you are able to understand. Then we go back to our japa. I hope you are able to. Then aparadhas are being washed away now or not washed away. In this way, Tadeka Sharano Bhave, then become exclusively sheltered in Sri Harinama. I hope you are able to understand. So the solution to offensive japa is what? Sankirtan. Okay? Because English में japa is chanting, Kirtan is chanting, Sankirtan is also chanting. वो क्या होता है? Solution to offensive chanting is for chanting. There is a technical detail here. The solution to offensive japa is to perform what? Okay, now please everybody. Okay, please keep this always in your mind. And please don't fall victim to any kalpana. It is most important. Now was Harinami kalpana. Samjhava. See, suppose Ajit Prabhu is hungry, and I bring prasadam for him and Daudi is there. I bring one truckload of popcorn. I think Prabhu, 10 crore popcorn for you. And Daudi Prabhu brings one plate, but he has cooked very nice Orisian style prasad, ma, chawal, khata, fish, everything. I think Prabhu, you will take few items from Daudi Prabhu's place, or you will take my 10 crore popcorn. What are you going to take? Purposely, you have to eat 10 crore popcorn. But you take is not my 10 crore popcorn. Because there is a lot of quality in his. What do we want to offer to someone? 10 crore popcorn. Let that not be the case. Okay? Bhagwan needs some good quality. At this point, I will pause my speech. Yadatra Charitam Kinchit Vidvam Saha Purayat Yadatra Savishtavam Kinchit Tad Guru Revamena Yadatra Skalitam Kinchit. If I made any mistake in my speech, obviously conditions also for this. Vidvam Saha, you all are learned devotees who are learning. But Yadatra Savishtavam Kinchit. If there is anything nice in the presentation, what was nice? We remember Tad Guru. It belongs to my Guru. My Diksha Guru, my Diksha Guru, all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, all the God brothers of Srila Prabhupada, all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas from all dharas of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the past, in the present, and who will come in the future, they are all my Diksha Gurus. All of you also are my Diksha Gurus. Thank you very much once again. Aparna Matari, Satish Guru, all is very much. Prabhupada, please pray that my aparaths are forgiven to nothing. So first we will take what the thing is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Upanishad we see Hare Ram first and then we see Hare Krishna first. Many people ask you. So if you see in the eastern part of India, I once asked this question to Fakir Mohan Prabhu, who is a very learned Vaishnava, and he was a disciple of the most learned disciple of the Ananta Vasudeva. So he was the disciple of the Ananta Vasudeva. It was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati used to call it. His disciple was Kapilwanta, and one such Kapilwanta. Kapilwanta said that he said, I have many manuscripts with me in Odisha, where the mantra begins with Hare Krishna. So there is one aspect that there is a variance in the way. Let's say some people don't accept this argument. Let's say some people say no. So in most of the manuscript, it is found with which first? Hare Ram first. Let's say it is found like this. If it is found with Hare Ram first, then also there is a very good answer in Srimad Bhagavatam. See here, the mantras are chanted in two manners. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam 684, 685, 686, Narayan Kavach. Okay? So Prabhuji, you only read Prabhuji what is given here.
Thus, in the following manner, he should bind himself with the Narayan both of them. First, by chanting the mantra composed of 8 syllables, Om Namo Narayana,
Narayanaya.
Beginning with the Pranam, the syllable Om, one should touch his hand to the 8 part of his body, starting with the 2 feet and progressively, systematically to the knees, thighs, abdomen, heart, chest, mouth, and head. Then one should chant the mantra in reverse, beginning from the last syllable, while touching the part of his body in the reverse order. These 2 processes are known as Utpattinyas and Samharnyas, respectively.
Okay, able to understand? So, some people chant the mantra using Utpattinyas. Some people chant the mantra using Samharnyas. I hope you are able to understand. This is another explanation. Okay, you can give this answer also. Utpattinyas and Samharnyas. This is another explanation. Okay. So these are. I hope this satisfies your query. Okay. People say like this, unless there is a mention in a biography, how can we take it as authentic? The thing is, there should be a mention in one of the 3 biographies. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavat and Mangal. In these 3 it is not mentioned. Some historian may say, you know, how historian's word is Praman or biographer's word is Praman for us. Biographer's word is Praman for as far as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life is concerned. So what is the intention of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is conveyed by the biographers, not by a historian. I have not seen it in the biography. So when it is not in the biography, why should I claim like this? So I hope that satisfies your question. Yes. Sorry, Namisharan Prabhu's question is also there. We'll take your question, then we'll continue. Please say.
So, you mentioned 2 nyas, right? So, Utpatti nyas and Sanyas. Do they have any significance? Because not technically speaking, Utpatti is creation and Samar is destruction. So, like, ulta to ऐसा नहीं हो जाएगा ना? ulta
नहीं. Utpatti and Samhar means basically the mantra can be used for attainment of all material goals of life. And the mantra can also be used to release oneself from all the material achievements. I hope you are able to understand that. So you are using the mantra for attaining all the goals or for releasing yourself? Releasing, na? So, Samhar. Still Samhar fits with your particular understanding. Okay, let me share. Or scriptures in pursuance of Vedic version. So there are smritis, na? What is difference between Shruti and Smriti? I will also speak, but I speak using Shruti. Shruti and Smriti, the difference is Shruti are those apaurushaya literature, not composed by any human being, which arose from the breathing of Lord Narayan at the beginning of the creation. That is known as Shruti. This is specified in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. See here, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Asya Mahato Bhutasya Nishvasitam Etad Rigvedo Yajurveda Samaveda Atharvandirasa Itihasa Puranam Vidya Upanishad Sloka Sutranam Prakhyani Sarvani Nishvasitani. Right, so what arose 4 Vedas, Itihas, Puran, aphorisms, purports, all have emanated from the breathing of the infinite Shruti. This is known as which literature? Shruti. Why it is known as Shruti? Because this was conveyed in disciplic succession by hearing. Original sound came from whose mouth? Narayana. Okay, this is known as Shruti. Smriti, the sages remembered and wrote their realizations. Yagyavalkya Smriti, Manu Smriti, Hari Bhakti Vilas, Tantras, all of this is under which literature? Smriti. I hope you are able to understand. Did Manu Smriti come from breathing or was it written by Manu? So it is from whatever has not come from the breathing, but it has come from a sage. So that is which literature. So that is. Quran.
So it also has like purports and so on. Like what is
Purports which have been given by Vyasadeva himself. Not today I will write one explanation and I will give it a name purport and I will say consider this as what Shruti. No. The one of the thing is the language of the Shruti is language of Bhagwan. Which language does Bhagwan speak in? I hope you are able to understand that language is maintained when Shruti is recited. So the language is also perfect language. That language is Shruti's language. Shruti Vakya. Okay? Anybody else? Yes, Mataji.
Probably top topic, but heard this specific mantra again, mantra kalpana. But then I hear this from many Gaudiya like Tadai God, Tadai God, 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 Tadai God. Is this authentic or is it strategy scriptural reference? It's not that we are practicing, but I heard it just for me.
Okay. So we have to understand that there are many mantras which some Gaudiya Vaishnavas think that they are much better than Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Exactly. So with all due respect to them, I don't, we don't want to critique anybody's character. But on this philosophical point, we have a difference of opinion. Because this mantra, first thing is this mantra is not. They may say that it was mentioned in some literature, whatever it may be, but what did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? What is the Praman? It is the Praman that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted. What the Bhakti Vinod Thakur wrote? Huh? Upanishad says that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted. No, I want a Praman that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, that was Pranam.
Shastakam doesn't have Hare Krishna. Hare Naam. Nagadhar is also Hari's Naam.
So in Vishnu Sahasranam we get like
That's okay. But which mantra was it? So we need a Praman. I am showing one Praman today. Please everybody remember this Praman. Sri Rupa Goswami wrote a literature called as Stavamala. Which literature we wrote is Stavamala. In Stavamala, Sri Rupa Goswami wrote Prathama Chaitanya Ashtakam. So in Stavamala, I am showing you Chaitanya Ashtakam, the first Chaitanya Ashtakam. And see here. Chaitanya Ashtakam is in Chaitanya Ashtakam, verse number 5. Please repeat after me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Bhagavan Hare Krishna is loudly chanting his name. I hope you are able to understand. Now Pramanam. This is Praman for us because Rupa Goswami was directly present. Everybody accepts the validity of whose word? Rupa Goswami. In Prathama Chaitanya Ashtakam, he has very clearly mentioned. Hare Krishna. This much. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting. But you are not supposed to have that. I hope it's not. You are supposed to chant another more merciful mantra. Somebody may say like this. I hope you are able to understand because people give this argument. So how to tackle that argument also? This also I am telling. Okay? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specified. Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhya Khand 28 chapter 27th verse. यदि आम प्रति स्नेह थाके सबाकार तबे कृष्ण व्यतिरिक्त न गाइबे आर यदि आमा प्रति स्नेह थाकी हो तुम्हारा if you have any love for me चैतन्य महाप्रभु तबे कृष्ण व्यतिरिक्त कृष्ण के अलावा ना गाइबे don't sing any names besides whose name Praman. This is Praman. So this is our Praman because we are chanting which Mahamantra? Hare. Some other Gaudiya Vaishnava groups may be chanting a mantra which we don't know frankly where it has come from. Should we disrespect them? No. Okay. Do we have to follow them? No. That is what. Okay. So respect from distance, philosophical difference is there. छोड़ दो. ठीक है? Yes.
अस्मात् शास्त्रं प्रणामन्ते कार्याकार्योक्तो 14th chapter last sloka. Shastram is a pramanam for us. What is shastram? How many shastras are there? Is what is shastram and puranam? How many shastras are there? Which shastra we have to follow? I would like to have.
Yeah, therefore I had quoted Brihadaranya Upanishad earlier. So when I quoted Brihad because Shastra
Hare Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji. We'll start with Mangalacharan prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We are in chapter 3 of Leelamrit. Yes, we'll start here. It was Kumbh Mela, January 1928. Bhakti Pradeepa Tirtha Maharaj of the Gaudiya Mutt had come to Allahabad with a few men. One day he walked unannounced into the Prayag pharmacy, and all of a sudden Abhay was seeing them again after so many years. Oh, these are the people I saw before, he thought. Gaudiya Mutt. Yes, come in. Bhakti Pradeepa Tirtha Swami was the same sannyasi who had visited Narendranath Malik in Calcutta, a visit that had led to Abhay's going to visit Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Folding his palms in a humble gesture, standing before Abhay in simple saffron khadi robes, his shaven head with a tuft of shikha in the back, his forehead marked with Vaishnava tilaka, Tirtha Maharaj said to Abhay, "We are new here. We are going to establish a temple in Allahabad. We have heard your name, so we have come to you. Please help us." Abhay was joyful. Yes, I'll help you. He contributed what money he could and then introduced Tirtha Maharaj to Dr. Ghosh, who also contributed. Abhay invited the Gaudiya Mutt devotees to come to his home and hold a bhajana and lecture. His wife would cook prasadam. They accepted, but when they arrived, there was a misunderstanding. Gaur Mohan, who was invalid, was staying in his room upstairs. "Please come down," Abhay called. "There's a meeting of the Gaudiya Mutt." Gaur Mohan came downstairs, but when he saw the sadhus, he mistook them for impersonalists from a non-devotional mission. He had not heard correctly what Abhay had said. Gaur Mohan took his seat, but he observed the saffron-clothed men sullenly and even made a critical remark. Abhay, who was enlivened at the opportunity to associate with the Vaishnavas and hear from them Krishna Katha, could not understand his father's behavior. Then as soon as Bhakti Pradeepa Tirtha Swami began his lecture, Gaur Mohan understood. "Oh, they are Vaishnavas," he cried. Old and invalid as he was, he immediately fell down at their feet. "I misunderstood you, sir. I thought you were sannyasis from another mission. I am glad to meet you." Hare Krishna. Samyukta Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. 3 paras.
Okay, Mataji. After Kumbh Mela, Pradeepa Tirtha Swami left, but 5 or 6 brahmachari disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati stayed on in Allahabad, maintaining a small matha headquarters. They worshipped the deity, held an evening program of kirtana and lecture, and preached actively to the local people. The devotee in charge, Atulananda Brahmachari, would visit the homes of Allahabad citizens, trying to solicit subscriber members for the matha. For half a rupee per month, a person would receive a subscription to the Gaudiya Math magazine. In the course of his door-to-door soliciting, Atulananda knocked on the door of Abhay Charan De. Abhay received him very hospitality and offered him some rice and fruit. Abhay was very receptive to the philosophy and relished discussions with Atulananda, who made it a point to visit Mr. De repeatedly and speak with him about Lord Chaitanya and the Bhagavad Gita. Abhay also inquired into the recent activities of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. By now, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta had established the Gaudiya printing works in Calcutta and had begun to publish the Srimad Bhagavatam in several volumes with his own annotations. He had also published an edited version of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata from his center in Dhaka. He had opened centers in Bhubaneswar, Madras, and Puri. Abhay's interest was insatiable. Atulananda told him how in 1925 Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had led a big procession circumambulating the holy land of Navadvipa, with deities riding on the backs of the gorgeously decorated elephants and with devotees from all parts of India attending. Envious professional priests who opposed Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's acceptance of disciples from all castes had employed a gang to help them hurl bricks and rocks on the procession. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta had continued undaunted. In 1926, he had tortured throughout India, preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya. He had he had also installed deities in the large temple of Sri Chaitanya Mutt in Mayapur. And a year ago, he had begun publishing his magazine Sajjana Toshani in 3 languages, including an English edition called The Harmonist. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Gaurav Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. After several visits and hours of discussion on the activities and philosophy of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Atulananda brought Mr. Day to the Allahabad ashram. Shortly thereafter, the Mutt relocated to a rented house on South Malacca Street near Rambagh, just a short walk from Abhay's house. Now it was possible for Abhay to visit every evening. After work, he would attend the Mutt, where he would play the mridang. Surprisingly, the brahmacharis, with his already developed mridang playing skills, he sang bhajanas with them and sometimes took the lead part in the congregational singing. He would also bring important persons from Allahabad to visit the mutt. From the brahmacharis, Abhay seemed to give new life to their ashram, and for Abhay, new life had come to him in his reunion with the disciplines of Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati. In 1930, Gaur Mohan's health took a turn for the worse, and his family members gathered around him. Thinking that his end had come, Abhay had been in Bombay on business, and it was late when he reached Allahabad and knocked on the door. Gaur Mohan told his daughter Rajeshwari, "Open the door, Abhay has come." So she replied, "No, he is in Bombay." Gaur Mohan repeated, "I tell you that he has come. You open the door." It was about midnight. She went downstairs, opened the door, and found that her brother had indeed come. Abhay went to his father. "How are you?" "I'm all right," Gaur Mohan replied. "You just take rest for the night." The next morning, Abhay called the doctor. How your father is living, we don't know. The doctor told him. He has practically no pulse. He has been living without food for several months. Abhay asked his father, "What is your wish? Tell me." "Why are you asking?" His father replied. "Has the doctor told you anything?" You want me to continue, Matai?
Living without food for several months. Yes, this is enough, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Matai.
Yes, Lavish Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Can you read?
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji. Mataji, from where Ashwin?
Here, Abhay said
Abhay
no.
said, yeah. Abhay said, no. I am asking because I am studying in Bombay. You are here.
Abhay said, "No, I am asking because I am staying in Bombay and you are here. So if you have any wish, any intention, let me know. I am here. I am here for you." Gaur Mohan told him to give their cow to the Allahabad Gaudiya Math. So Abhay took the cow along with her calf and donated them to the Math. Then again he asked his father, "Have you got any other wish?" And again his father asked, "Has the doctor told you anything?" "No, no, I am simply asking because for my business I have to go." Then Gaur Mohan said, "Invite all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas of Allahabad and other Vaishnavas also. Let them chant Harinam in the evening and you supply them with good food. That is my wish." Abhay arranged it, and in the evening the Harinam started. At 11 o'clock, all of them took prasadam and left. That night, Gaur Mohan passed away. Abhay felt the loss of his father painfully. His father had given him everything he had ever wanted, had been careful to raise him as a pure Vaishnava, and had always worshipped Radha and Krishna. Although Abhay was a competent youth man, he felt lost without his dearmost protector and friend. More than anyone else, Gaur Mohan was the one who had always guided Abhay and treated him as the most special person. Without his father, Abhay now felt hopeless. He suddenly felt the same deeply dependency he had felt as a small boy. But now, without his father, the one who had always treated him as a pet son, deserving all loving attention, the one who had given him whatever he had wanted, and who had literally prayed to every holy man he met, and his son became a great devotee of Srimati Radharani. The best well wisher was now gone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Akinjan Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Akinjan
Mother.
Prabhu, can you
Yes.
read? Yeah.
Where to start, Mother? Sorry. On the day of Shraddha, 13 days after Gormon passed away, Abhay and his brother posed for a formal photograph. In accordance with the religious custom, the two sons had shaved their head. The photograph shows Abhay and his brother sitting on the other side of the formal portrait of their father. The portrait is on an elevated stand and is surrounded with a dark cloth. The picture is nicely framed. Gormohan looks old but still thoughtful and intent. Not so old as in the former portrait where he has looked em- emaciated with eyes almost dimmed. Abhay with his head shaved looks like a renounced monk and his body is covered with the robes of the monk. Simple drapes in broad folds covering the upper and lower parts of his body. He looks quite different than he had in the picture that was taken in the same place, which is same a rough carpet on the floor years before. In that picture, with his wife and children gathered around him, he was very much the young householder surrounded by the responsibilities of family and looking like he knew how to conduct himself well and move energetically in the world. But in this photo, although his children were present, they were seated unattended on the floor. Abbay's left hand is on his knees, posed and yet at rest, whereas the former picture, his left hand had been holding his restless son. Abbay's wife is not present. In this picture, Abhay looks striking. One cannot tell that he usually has a head of hair and mustache, which he has only recently shone for the mournful observance of his father passing away. Instead, this seems to be his natural appearance. There is a mysterious spiritual air about him, as one might expect in a meditating saint. He look, his look is neither agitated nor cheerful nor sorrowful. It is peaceful and knowingly as if he suddenly became a sadhu on the day his father has passed away. He looks like a sadhu. His father envisioned he would become. Okay. He looks as if he is and always was sadhu and has suddenly been revealed as such on this day. Even by the most casual inspection of the photo, it appears that by shaving his head and dressing in robes with no shirt or shoes, Abhay has become a sadhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. We'll start with Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2, second canto, second chapter. But before that, what we'll do is we'll just quickly kind of look at what we covered in 2.1. One second, I'm just trying to pull out the Lalitman Prabhu. Will you be able to
Yes,
just
Mataji.
give a synopsis of what we covered in the first chapter, Prabhuji?
Yeah, we didn't do this last time, Mataji.
We did, Prabhuji.
After
But
after
just to,
completion of chapter.
yeah, we did. No, I'm not asking you to read. I'm just telling you to tell us what is covered in the first chapter of second
Okay,
canto,
okay,
like in a small synopsis, so that we know
okay.
what we are continuing with in the second chapter.
See, first chapter, first canto ends with the meeting of these two great personalities. The second canto, it starts with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, who Sukadev Goswami, and he glorifies the questions of Parikshit Maharaj. Okay,
Yes.
that what you asked is very perfect. Thank you, and this is what is to be known, and all these things. Okay, and how a person will be attached to his householder life, completely, what you say, forgetting what his goal of life would be. So this is what has been covered in the whole first chapter, how there are different
Grihastha and
things in this
Grihamedi,
material world.
Prabhu. Is that about Grihastha and Grihamedi?
Yeah. Grihastha and Grihamedi. These are the two things which he covers. And then he starts giving answer from the second chapter.
Okay.
And he also says that there are three shlokas which he emphasizes. Means 9, 10, and 11, I guess. 2.1, na?
Yes.
Yeah, the 5, 6, 11, and 33. These are the 2 or 3 slokas where he says that Hare Namanu Kirtanam and what we say, Ante Narayana Smriti. So he briefly gives what is the goal of human life, and he says how Grihamedi and Grihastha are different. We should become Grihastha, not Grihamedi.
Okay.
And now he says that I will start Srimad Bhagavat, which I have heard, okay, from my father.
So where does it
You
end?
should, you want me to go deep, Mataji? It's many things
No,
covered, but
Prabhuji. That's
on
fine.
synopsis, it is this. Actually, he is giving a small intro of how
Yes.
a person should be, what his goal should be in the life.
Yeah. I think it ends with Virat Purusha's description. Explain to you the gross material gigantic conception of the personality of Godhead. One who seriously desires liberation concentrates his mind on this form of the Lord because there is nothing more than this in the material world.
He says actually that whoever can only see this material world For him, how can he see God? So in that explanation he gives, at least he can see in this way, in Virat Rupa.
9. Upon the Supreme Personality One, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, just as ordinary persons create thousands of manifestations in dreams. One must concentrate the mind on him, the only all blissful, absolute truth. Otherwise, one will be misled and will cause his own degradation. So that's where it ends. We'll start the second chapter. The Lord in the Heart. Yes, Lalit Prabhu, you can start it.
Yeah, shall I start, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu.
I don't know why your voice is too feeble for me, Mataji. It's too low. Is it for others also, or is it problem from my end?
Yes, Prabhuji, Mataji voice is low, so low, Prabhuji.
Yeah, okay.
Could you check is it audible now?
Now it's okay, Mataji.
Okay. Yeah.
Translation. Shall I go ahead, Mataji, or
Yes, yes.
there are many other
I
devotees
just
who
wanted to ask, do you want to do the shloka or directly translation?
It's up to you, Mataji.
You can అంటే ఎప్పుడైనా ఇంపార్టెంట్ శ్లోక ఉంటే చెప్పండి.
Yeah, I will tell Mataji. That I will tell.
Okay, Prabhuji. Please go
2.2 na Mataji.
Yeah.
Translation. Shri Sukadeva Goswami said, formerly, prior to the manifestation of the cosmos, Lord Brahma, by meditating on the Virat Rupa, regained his lost consciousness by appeasing the Lord. Thus, he was able to rebuild the creation as it was before. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The example cited herein of Sri Brahmaji is one of forgetfulness. Brahmaji is the incarnation of one of the mundane attributes of the Lord. Being the incarnation of the passion mode of material nature, he is empowered by the Lord to generate the beautiful material manifestation. Yet, due to his being one of the numerous living entities, he is apt to forget the art of his creative energy. This forgetfulness of living being, beginning from Brahma down to the lowest insignificant ant, is a tendency which can be counteracted by meditation on the Virat Rupa of the Lord. This chance is available in the human form of life. And if a human being follows the instruction of Srimad Bhagavatam and begins to meditate upon the Virat Rupa, then revival of his pure consciousness and counteraction of the tendency to forget his eternal relationship with the Lord can follow simultaneously. And as soon as this forgetfulness is removed, the Vyavasaya Buddhi, as mentioned here in Bhagavad Gita 2.41, follows at once. This ascertained knowledge of living being leads to loving service to the Lord, which the living being requires. The kingdom of God is unlimited. Therefore, the number of assisting hands of the Lord is also unlimited. The Bhagavad Gita 13.14 asserts that the Lord has his hands, legs, eyes, and mouth in every nook and corner of his creation. This means that the expansions of the differentiated parts and parcels called jivas or living entities are assisting hands of the Lord, and all of them are meant for rendering a particular pattern of service to the Lord. The conditioned soul, even in the position of a Brahma, forgets this by the influence of illusory material energy generated out of false egoism. One can counteract such false egoism by invoking God consciousness. Liberation means getting out of slumber of forgetfulness and becoming situated in the real loving service of the Lord. As exemplified in the case of Brahma. The service of Brahma is the sample of service in liberation, distinguished from the so-called altruistic services full of mistakes and forgetfulness. Liberation is never inaction, but service without human mistakes. Thank you so much, Mataji. It's so too philosophical. Hare Krishna.
Do you want to little talk about it, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
Do you want to little talk about it, the philosophy?
Yeah, the main theme is that even Brahma is actually influenced by the illusory energy. So what to speak of us? So only thing we will be conscious of Lord is by serving him properly. Okay, loving service, loving devotional service. So that is what the whole theme of that last paragraph is. So we should be doing loving devotional service, else we might forget Lord. Thank you.
Now, formerly, prior to the manifestation of cosmos, Lord Brahma, by meditating on the Virat Rupa, regained his lost consciousness. They're saying even the supremmost material living being, Brahma.
He lost his consciousness, Mataji.
Yes.
He forgot what to do and what not to do. So that is what the material energy, physical energy is. So how he could regain that, Prabhupada is telling by doing loving devotional service, by being Krishna conscious.
Thank you so much. Sandhya Mataji, are you in a position to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji, no Mataji, I'll be in hearing mode. Guest came at home.
Yeah.
I'll be available at recitation. Mataji.
Sure, Mataji. Lavanya Mataji, Hare Krishna, will you be able to read?
Yes, Mataji. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: the way of presentation of the Vedic sound is so bewildering that it directs the intelligence of the people to meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms. The conditioned souls hover in dreams of such heavenly illusory pleasures, but actually they do not relish any tangible happiness in such places. Purport. The conditioned soul is always engaged in laying out plans for happiness within the material world, even up to the end of the universal limit. He is not even satisfied with available amenities on this earthly planet, where he has exploited the resources of nature to the best of his ability. He wants to go to the moon or the planet Venus to exploit resources there. But the Lord has warned us in the Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, 16th verse, about the worthlessness of all innumerable planets of this universe, as well as those planets within our systems. There are innumerable universes and also innumerable planets in each of them, but none of them is immune to the chief miseries of material existence, namely the pangs of birth, the pangs of death, the pangs of old age, and the pangs of disease. The Lord says that even the topmost planet known as the Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, and what to speak of other planets like heavenly planets, is not a happy land for residential purposes. Due to the presence of material pangs, as above mentioned, conditioned souls are strictly under the laws of fruitive activities, and as such, they sometimes go up to the Brahmaloka and again come to the Patalaloka, as if they were unintelligent children on a merry-go-around. The real happiness is in the kingdom of God, where no one has to undergo the pangs of material existence. Therefore, one must have a factual reluctance to enjoy such temporary happiness for the
Krishna
real
Mataji, you are not
happiness
audible.
is in the kingdom of Haribol Mataji. Is it okay?
Yeah, it was breaking in between, Mataji. Ante, were you speaking or was it breaking? I don't know.
Yeah. The real happiness is in the kingdom of God, where no one has to undergo the pangs of material existence. Therefore, the Vedic ways of fruitive activities for the living entities are misleading. One thinks of superior way of life in this country or that, or in this planet or another. But nowhere in the material world can he fulfill his real desire of life, namely eternal life, full intelligence and complete bliss. Indirectly, Srila Sukadeva Goswami affirms that Maharaja Parikshit, in the last stage of life, should not desire to transfer himself to the so-called heavenly planets, but should prepare himself for going back to Godhead, back to home, back to Godhead. None of the material planets nor the amenities available there for living condition is everlasting. Therefore, one must have a factual reluctance to enjoy such temporary happiness as the effort. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Sorry for the disturbance, Mataji.
No problem, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
The signal is not good here.
No problem. Suman Prabhu, are you available to read? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, can you please read?
Yeah. Translation. For this reason, the enlightened person should endeavor only for the minimum necessities of life while in the world of names. He should be intelligently fixed and never endeavor for unwanted things, being competent to perceive practically that all such endeavors are merely hard labor for nothing. Purport. The Bhagavad Gita Dharma or the cult of Srimad Bhagavatam is perfectly distinct from the way of fruitive activities, which are considered by the devotees to be merely a waste of time. The whole universe, or for that matter, all material existence is moving on as Jagat, simply for planning business to make one's position very comfortable or secure. Although everyone sees that this existence is neither comfortable nor secure and can never become comfortable or secure at any stage of development. Those who are captivated by the illusionary advancement of material civilization, following the way of fan,
Phantasmagoria.
phantasmagoria, are certainly madmen. The whole material creation is a jugglery of names only. In fact, it is nothing but a bewildering creation of matter like earth, water, and fire. The buildings, furniture, cars, bungalows, mills, factories, industries, peace, war, or even the highest perfection of material science, namely atomic energy and electronics, are all simply bewildering names of material elements with their concomitant reactions of the three modes. Since the devotee of the Lord knows them perfectly well, he is not interested in creating unwanted things for a situation which is not at all reality, but simply names of no more significance than the babble of sea waves. The great kings, leaders, and soldiers fight with one another in order to perpetuate their names in history. They are forgotten in due course of time, and they make a place for another era in history. But the devotees realize how much history and historical persons are useless products of flickering time. The fruitive worker aspires after a big fortune man should be very careful to utilize time very cautiously.
No,
1 second.
I think you missed a line. The fruitive workers
So the
aspires after
fruitive
big
worker
fortune.
aspires after a big fortune in the matter of wealth, woman, and worldly adoration. But those who are fixed in perfect reality are not at all interested in such
Things.
false things. For them, it is all waste of time. Since every second of human life is important, an enlightened man should be very careful to utilize time very cautiously. 1 second of human life wasted in the vain research of planning for happiness in the material world can never be replaced, even if one spends millions of coins of gold. Therefore, the transcendentalist desiring freedom from the clutches of Maya or the illusory activities of life is warned herewith not to be captured by the external features of fruitive actors. Human life is never meant for sense gratification, but for self realization. Srimad Bhagavatam instructs us solely on this subject from the very beginning to the end. Human life is simply meant for self realization. The civilization which aims at the utmost perfection never indulges in creating unwanted things, and such a perfect civilization prepares men only to accept the bare necessities of life or to follow the principles of the best use of bad bargain. Our material bodies and our lives in that connection are bad bargains because the living entity is actually spirit, and spiritual advancement of the living entity is absolutely necessary. Human life is intended for the realization of this important factor, and one should act accordingly.
accepting only the bare necessities of life and depending more on God's gift without diversion of human energy for any other purpose, such as being mad for material enjoyment. The materialistic advancement of civilization is called the civilization of the demons, which ultimately ends in wars and scarcity. The transcendentalist is specifically warned here with to be fixed in mind, so that even if there is difficulty in plain living and high thinking, he will not budge even in an inch from his stark determination. For a transcendentalist, it is suicidal policy to be intimately in touch with the sense gratifiers of the world, because such a policy will frustrate the ultimate gain of life. Sukadeva Goswami met Maharaja Parikshit when the latter felt a necessity for such a meeting. It is the duty of transcendentalists to help persons who desire real salvation and to support the cause of salvation. One might note that Sukadeva Goswami never met Maharaja Parikshit while he was ruling a great king. For a transcendentalist, the mode of activities is explained in the next sloka. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna. Thank you,
Prabhuji. It
Mataji.
was a long one. I think it it covered all the days that you missed.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. For
Hare
this
Krishna.
reason, the enlightened person should endeavor only for the minimum necessities of life while in the world of names. He should be intelligently fixed and never endeavor for unwanted things, being competent to perceive practically that all such endeavors are merely hard labor for nothing. So all this is actually Prabhupada's explanation कि how everything else is useless in the material life. Yes, anybody who is pending to read and wants to read, we can go for one more. Hare Krishna. Has everybody finished their turn?
Mataji, Vani Mataji, she
Vani Mataji, do you want to read Hare Krishna? Hare Krishna. Vani Mataji.
Mataji, yes, Mataji, I
Are
want
you
to
in
read
a
Mataji.
position to read Mataji?
Yeah, I'll read Mataji. Inka every day lage untadi, but I'll read.
Please read Mataji.
Purport kada?
Translation nunchi chadavandi.
Oh, okay. When there are ample earthly flats to lie on, what is the necessity of cots and beds? When one can use his own arms, what is the necessity of a pillow? When one can use the palms of his hand, what is the necessity of varieties of utensils? When there is ample covering or the skin of trees, what is the necessity of clothing? Purport. The necessities of life for protection and comfort of the body must not be unnecessarily increased. Human energy is spoiled in a vain search after such illusionary happiness. If one is able to lie down on the floor, then why should one endeavor to get a good bed sheet, bedstead, or soft cushion to lie on? If one can rest without any pillow and make use of a soft arms endowed by the nature, there is no necessity of searching after a pillow. If we make a study of the general life of the animals, we can see that they have no intelligence. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If we study the general life of the animals, we can see that they have no intelligence for building big houses, furniture, and other household paraphernalia, and yet they maintain a very healthy life by lying down on the open land. They do not know how to cook or prepare foodstuff, yet they still live healthy lives more easily than the human being. This does not mean that human civilization should revert to animal life or the human being should live naked in the jungles without any culture, education, and sense of morality. An intelligent human cannot live the life of an animal. Rather, man should try to utilize his intelligence in arts and science, poetry, and philosophy. In such a way, he can further the progressive march of human civilization. But here, the idea given by Srila Sukadeva Goswami is that Srila Sukadeva Goswami is that the reserve energy of human life, which is far superior to that of animal, should simply be utilized for self-realization. Advancement of human civilization must be towards the goal of establishing our lost relationship with God, which is not possible in any form of life other than the human. One must realize the nullity of the material phenomenon, considering it as a passing phantasmagoria. How do you spell this, Mataji? How do you?
Phantasmagoria, Mataji. Means a
Phantasmagoria.
drama.
Okay. It's a new word okay. Phantasmagoria and must endeavor to make a solution to the miseries of life. Self-compliance with a polished life of animal civilization geared to sense gratification is delusion, and such a civilization is not worthy of the name. In pursuit of such false activities, a human being is in the clutches of Maya or illusion. Great sages and saints in the days of yore were not living in furnished with good furniture and so-called amenities of life. They used to live in huts and groves and sit on the flat ground. Yet they have left immense treasures of high knowledge with all perfection. Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami were high-ranking ministers of state, but they were able to leave behind them immense writings on transcendental knowledge, while residing only for one night underneath one tree. They did not live even 2 nights under the same tree, and what to speak of well-furnished rooms with modern amenities. And still they were able to give us most important literature of self-realization. So-called comforts of life are not actually helpful for progressive civilization. Rather, they are detrimental to such progressive life. In the system of Sanatana Dharma of 4 divisions of social life and 4 orders of progressive realization, there are ample opportunities and sufficient directions for a happy termination of the progressive life. And the sincere followers are advised herein to accept a voluntary life of renunciation in order to achieve the desired goal of life. If one is not accustomed to abiding by the life of renunciation and self from the beginning, abnegation. From the beginning, one should try to get into the habit of a later stage of life as recommended by Srila Sukadeva Goswami, and that will help one achieve the desired success.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yes, so now we'll start with the shlokas. Just 1 second. In the meantime, Lalit Mohan Prabhu, do you want to speak anything on the last shloka that we read?
That is full of very, very heavy, Mataji. Very heavy. So actually, whenever we read such shlokas, I always remember one, class by Vajbihari. He always says, हमें अपनी औकात पता होनी चाहिए. उसके हिसाब से हम अपना भक्ति करनी चाहिए. He always stresses this point. See, this is very, very high for us to understand that to go away from the material comforts. But at least we should come to a point to say to Krishna, I cannot do bhakti like that, at least at this point of time. So please give me intelligence so that I gradually and slowly move even to that point, not of a sudden. So he says that Prabhupada emphasizes here that it is too heavy. It's too heavy a Bhagavatam shloka that it will completely shake you.
Yes, Prabhuji. So, that's why he must be giving so much purport, to make us understand.
Yeah. To make us understand that, yes, gradually we should come down. So when such shlokas comes, so actually my counselors in Vajbihari Prabhu, I follow them more. So they say, अपनी औकात में रहो, जितना आप कर सकते हो, जितने में आप अच्छे से भक्ति कर सकते हो, उतने में करो. अगर आप मतलब, if you can do it in a villa, you do it there. If you can do it in a hut, you can do it there. But अपनी औकात अपने आप को पता होनी चाहिए था. ठीक है? So do accordingly. Don't, change yourself so much that, at the end of your life, you'll regret. So Bhakti should be very slow and gradual. Of course, these shlokas are, what they say it as, what is it? They have a name for this, such type of shlokas. Shakers. They are shakers. They will shake you up if you are completely very cozy. Such shlokas they are. So we should be knowing where we stand and how we can do our bhakti properly.
Yes, Prabhuji. So actually, Srila Sukhdev Goswami is saying that what is the need? There's no need of all material comforts. And he is saying, but Prabhupada is saying that you go gradually. Antena?
Yes, Mataji. All our, counselors, the spiritual masters and all, they emphasize on this point. Yes, go gradually. Know what you are actually. If you are, there are, when we are into Vaishnav Training Academy, Mataji, in the Radha Gopinath temple. So for unmarried boys who are educating, who are doing job or who are studying before getting married, we are emphasized to stay 1 year in the Vaishnav Training Academy, which is beneath the temple. So I don't used to stay. No, I didn't stay in the temple, but my base is very nearby temple. So I used to attend those classes every day. So this is the training which they impart. Okay. So
wonderful.
Why we should know whether we are brahmacharis or we are grihasthas. We are grihastha material. So that clarity we will get when we do the training. So there they emphasize more on this point, like know what you are. अपने औकात को मतलब समझ लो आप, ठीक है? There are some people, Mataji, who are very open. Like आप उनको गाली भी दो, उनको कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Because they are very much convinced that my lifestyle is like this. And there are some people who are very even if you say small thing to them, they will be affected very high. Okay? For them, for such people, they suggest that you become grihastha baba. क्योंकि आपको थोड़ा praise वगैरह सब मिलता है उधर. ब्रह्मचर्य आश्रम में आपको तो मतलब गाली ही सुनने मिलता है पहले 5-10 साल. So you cannot be stable in this ashram. So these things, they say one thing, that know your swabhava. अपनी औकात को मतलब समझो पहले. Then उसके बाद you do bhakti accordingly. So there we get decided whether we join that ashram or not. And if we are into grihastha ashram, so the grihastha couple will come, grihastha people will come, and they will teach us for 6 months. वो यहाँ से चालू करते हैं कि आटा का भाव कितना हो गया पता है. So why they say? Because we are only directly having prasad from temple, so we don't know the externals. So they say us. So they say that when you enter into grihastha ashram, what you should do is come out gradually. Take your comforts and then do bhakti. So they stress this point: take your comforts and do bhakti.
Yes,
here we should know where we are, and slowly we should progress. Okay. Not
should not do markata sannyasa.
No, never. That is not we are here for. Okay. Here, अगर हमारे में कुछ कमियां हैं, we should accept. Yes, this is a shortcoming in me. I cannot become like that as of now, but let me try for that. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing the.
So someone disturbs me, it will become like this. I'm sorry. But
No, Prabhuji, because sometimes we'll just be reading, we'll not understand the context. We'll just read and we'll proceed. But these are such lengthy purports. So as the purport is ending, we'll forget what exactly was the context and translation. That's the reason why I'm asking you for everything. So that we remember the context, what is being told, and ultimately what is the takeaway also we need to remember. So that's where your intervention helps. So don't be sorry, Prabhuji, please.
Yeah, one more thing, I just wanted to add on. If you see Lord, is different from this. Like pure devotees and Lord. Like here, the pure devotee is Parikshit Maharaj, and the second person is Lord Ram. From being coronated to going to the forest. In the forest, he is doing exactly what Sukhdev Goswami is telling us in the translation, right?
Yes,
when we have palms, what is the use of utensils? When we have the grass, what is the use of clothes? So all of a sudden they have transformed. They can do it because they are highly renunciate. At the same time, they can enjoy the fruits of the king also. And here Parikshit Maharaj, they are on the pure platform. Okay, they are very highly pure platform. All of a sudden, one person, what is say, who is
Give strap.
string gives strap to him, and he will change completely. So they can be on the both the ways, but we should know what our this thing is, our limitations are, and we should gradually progress. Thank you, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So today, do we start here, Prabhuji? Yesterday we completed Kada, the previous slide.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
We completed this.
Yeah, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and Bhakti Vinod Thakur. We have finished all
Yes,
these
Prabhuji.
right?
Yes,
Now we will
Prabhuji.
come to Jagannath Das Babaji. Okay. Just before starting this, I just wanted to give a brief intro about Jagannath Das Babaji. So, how many of you know who Jagannath Das Babaji is? So, Jagannath Das Babaji is actually from Uttar Pradesh. Okay. Now, so-called Uttar Pradesh. Then it was, northern provinces under the British. Okay. So, he's somewhere from Awadh or Allahabad. He's a very big businessman, affluent businessman, and he leaves all of that, and he's a son of Zamindar, and then he leaves all of that and then comes to Vrindavan. And at last he comes to, on the request of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he comes to Mayapur or Navadvip. Okay, and the journey is also very, very, very graphic journey which he has, because he will come across tigers, he will come across lions, and he's very old by then. But all of those animals, ferocious animals, will become friendly to him anywhere he goes, because he's a spiritual personality. And so, what is his contribution? His contribution is, he has told us where Mahaprabhu has taken birth. See, actually, the Ganges, as we know it today, was not earlier as it was today, because every 60 years or 70 years, every span of 60 years, the Ganges will take a detour. It will change its course of how it goes to Sagar, means Bay of Bengal. So the Navadvip which we are seeing now was different. If you go to the books of this Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Mangal, and before those books of 16th century or 17th century, there will be a coordinates difference, that they will say that Ganga is flowing to the left of the Mahaprabhu's place, but now the Ganga is flowing to the right side of the Mahaprabhu's place. So everything was changed, because the flow of Ganga changes every 60 or 70 years. So no one knows the exact coordinates. So our Bhakti Vinod Thakur wanted to know where actually our Nimai has taken birth. So who can say that? Only a Divya Drishti people. And one such person who was living at that time was Jagannath Das Babaji. So he has taken the help of Jagannath Das Babaji to excavate the place where Mahaprabhu was taken birth, and many other places in our Gaudi. Okay, so that is his contribution. So his pranati starts with that. Gaur Avirbhava Bhumestvam Nirdheshta Sajjana Priya. Nirdheshta means he has concluded that this is the place where Gaur Avirbhava has taken place. Okay, and he is Vaishnava Sarvabhauma. Sarvabhauma is the title which we give to people who are, very respected. Understood, na? That is what this, this shloka means. Okay. So please repeat after me. Gauravirbhava bhumestvam nirdeshta sajjana priya.
Gauravirbhava bhumistvam nirdishta sajjana priya.
Okay, let me go with the individual words, because I felt devotees are feeling difficult. Gauravirbhava bhumestvam. Single line, we will go single line.
Yeah. Gauravirbhava bhumistvam.
Gauravirbhava bhumestvam.
Gauravirbhava bhumistvam.
Gauravirbhava bhumestvam.
गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं
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 गौराविर्भावभूमे
गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं
गौराविर्भावभूमे
गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं
निर्देष्ट सज्जन प्रियः
निर्दिष्ट सज्जनप्रियः
निर्देष्ट सज्जन प्रियः निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः
निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः
निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः
निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः
निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः
निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः
वैष्णवा सार्वभौम वैष्णवा सार्वभौम वैष्णवा सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः
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 Now 2 lines together for 3 times. गौराविर्भाव भूमे स्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः
गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः
गौराविर्भाव भूमे स्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः
गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः
गौराविर्भाव भूमे स्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः
गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः
वैष्णवा सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः
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 Okay. Now only once I will study for all the 4 lines together. Now you can start practice. Okay. गौराविर्भाव भूमि स्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः वैष्णवा सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः
गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः
वैष्णवा सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः
Yeah, Samyukta Mataji, can you please start?
गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः वैष्णवा सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः Thank you.
Ramreddy to बोलना.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः वैष्णवा सार्वभौमा श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः. हरे कृष्ण.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Sandhya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Srila Jagannatha Pranati. गौराविर्भाव भूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः वैष्णवा सार्वभौमाः श्रीजगन्नाथाय ते नमः.
Yes, Mataji. Deepa Mataji.
गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्दिष्ट सज्जनप्रियः वैष्णव सार्वभौमाः श्रीजगन्नाथाय ते नमः. हरे कृष्ण.
Yes, Mataji. Hare. Lavanya Mataji is there? No, she left out. Okay. Vani Mataji. Vani Mataji.
ప్రభుజీ
Yeah. Pope చేస్తున్నారా Mataji? Course చేస్తున్నారా?
అవును ప్రభుజీ, నేను అన్ని వెండమే కానీ ప్రాక్టీస్
Please go ahead, Mataji. It's okay. It's okay. No issues.
ఓకే. శ్రీల జగన్నాథ్ ప్రణతి. గౌర విభ్రవ భూమేస్త్వం నిర్దేష్ట సజ్జన ప్రియ వైష్ణవ.
Please repeat after me, Mataji. Okay, first line, second line, not repeat చేయండి ఒకసారి. గౌరావిర్భావ భూమేస్త్వం.
గౌరావిర్భావ భూమేస్త్వం
నిర్దేష్టా సజ్జన ప్రియః.
నిర్దేష్ట సజ్జన ప్రియః. గౌరవిర్భావ భూమేస్త్వం నిర్దేష్ట సజ్జన ప్రియః వైష్ణవ సర్వభౌమా శ్రీ జగన్నాథాయ తే నమః. మళ్ళీ చెప్పనా ప్రభుజీ?
ఒకసారి చేయండి Mataji. గౌర ఆవిర్భావ.
ఓకే. గౌర ఆవిర్భావ భూమేస్త్వం. ఓకే. గౌర ఆవిర్భావ భూమేస్త్వం నిర్దేష్ట సజ్జన ప్రియః వైష్ణవ సర్వభౌమా శ్రీ జగన్నాథాయ తే నమః.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you. And Lavish Prabhu.
అంతేనా ప్రభుజీ? ఇది ఒక్కటే చెప్పారా మీరు?
ఒకటైంది Mataji చెప్పడదాకా.
అచ్చా, ఓకే ఓకే, సరే సరే.
హరే కృష్ణ. గౌరావిర్భావ భూమేస్త్వం నిర్దేష్ట సజ్జన ప్రియా వైష్ణవాం సర్వభౌమస్త శ్రీ జగన్నాథాయ తే నమః.
వైష్ణవా సార్వభౌమ.
వైష్ణవా సార్వభౌమ శ్రీ జగన్నాథాయ తే నమః.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you. Akinchan Prabhu.
गौरविर्भाव भूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रिया वैष्णवा सर्वभौमा श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Giriraj Prabhu, are you in a position to read? Recite?
I think he is in a satsang, Prabhuji. I think he is in a satsang.
Okay.
Driving.
Oh, very good. Please drive properly, Prabhu. We will do it tomorrow. You know already all this. Driving to India, Prabhu? By any chance? No. Okay, Mataji. You can conclude the call.
Okay, Prabhu.
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंतकोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय. श्रीला प्रभुपाद बुक रीडिंग की जय. श्रीमद् भगवत गीता की जय. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय. हरे कृष्ण. थैंक यू एवरीबडी फॉर जॉइनिंग. हरे कृष्णा. दंडवत प्रणाम.
हरे कृष्ण.
थैंक यू. हरे कृष्णा. दंडवत प्रणाम.